FYI, I've got this, I'm going to set this to 1600 RPMs. Okay, there was 2 passes. Let me take my fresh microfiber cloth, wipe this off, and I'm curious myself as to what I'm going to see. Okay, so I already have lint on the back. So, okay, already I'm like seriously impressed because this literally is my first rodeo doing this. Aside from yesterday, but we did it with 3000 grit. So check this out. And when you saw me polishing, I hope you can determine how much pressure I was pushing into it. I hope you could see how much flex. And in fact, when I was using the 600 grit, if you notice, I couldn't even use, and I did that deliberately because normally I would bust out a block. If you're really doing high performance or high level paint correction, you're gonna, in many cases, use a block or some type of sanding backing plate that largely aligns with the curvature of the panel, if that makes sense. So what I want to do is do it this way with my palm, and all you keyboard jockeys, you would say, oh, I would never sand that way because it's going to leave impressions where your fingers are. I get it. This is demonstration purposes only. But that's why I switched to my fist to replicate more of a sanding block. And you'll notice when I switched to the 600 grit, it was actually very hard to the point where I couldn't even get it to go because that grit is so aggressive and it bites and cuts into it so deeply that I just couldn't do it. So here we are. We got 2000 grit to your left, 1200 in the middle, 600 to the right. Now, let's just start with the worst case scenario, 600 grit. Now I was not able to go to the very edge over here because of the constraints of this box that I'm working in. But right here, like, I would not call that optical clarity, meaning if I get my eyeglasses done at Costco, if they handed me my pair of glasses and I'm trying to look through it, I'd say, nope, unacceptable. But that was 2 passes with the most aggressive cutting pad that you can use. And I can't believe the results that just 2 passes was able to produce. Now when I go to 1200 grit, if I was at Costco and they handed me my glasses and I try them on, I'd be like, oh yeah, you nailed it. So, and FYI, you see that glare right there? That's why you can upgrade your glasses at Costco to have them put a film or a coating on your glasses, which is called anti-glare. That is exactly why they do it, so you don't get this kind of a glare when you're looking at people. But then over here, we have 2000 grit. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, I see nothing. So with that said is, I'm gonna go in for a second pass. See how quickly? So what I'm trying to illustrate here is a couple things. One, because I know someone out there is gonna be like, oh, that plastic is super, super soft. It's like, okay, maybe, but soft is relative, right? Meaning you only have soft when you're comparing it to something harder, right? Because I could take this soft and get something that's softer, and now this becomes soft and this becomes hard. It's called the law of relativity. For example, big and small. You only have something big if you have something smaller in relation to the bigness. Does that make sense? My point is this, is you saw me sanding, you saw how much pressure I had to put into it in order to introduce those sanding marks. So you could call this soft clear coat, you could call it hard clear coat, that's debatable. I just know that in working on cars, I would call this just normal clear coat. I would not call it soft nor hard. But I know it's not soft because there's gonna be people out there who's like, oh, that's super, super soft, acrylic or plastic, whatever you wanna call it. So that's not really a fair comparison to cars. Okay, take away from this video whatever you want. And by all means, leave me your comments, whether they're good, bad, indifferent, whatever. I'm impressed so far. Optical clarity. Let's go in for some additional optical clarity. And I'm going to keep this at, in fact, I'm going to dial it down to 1200 RPMs now. Because my pad is already seasoned, I'm just going to apply a tiny bit more. I'd say about 5 dollops. Yes, 5. I just counted them. Oh wait, no, 6. I counted incorrectly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's go back in. Now I want to make sure I got this on the right side, which I don't. This is the problem working on glass. This is why cleaning windows is so frustrating, is because you can literally see out both sides of it. Right side, here we go. I'm going to take this to the edge a little bit more, and I'm going to spend a little more time on the 600 grit in fairness, because they are that deep. And I'm going to come over here to the 2000 grit. I move this over so I can get over to the edge more. Someone out there, you can count for me how many passes that was. I'm going to now wipe this off. Got a little excess schmang over here. Schmegma. If you're in the UK, you'll know what that term means. It's a crass term. I lived over in the UK for a year and a half, so I learned some of these crass terms. Okay, so that was pass number 2. Let me turn this around so you guys can read it. We got 2000 to your left. Once again, I mean, I don't know, Sean, people are going to think you're my fanboy. I get it. But seriously, what do you think? Like, honest, what's your opinion?
It was great.
To me, it looks great.
Yeah.
I mean, did you think I'd be able to produce these kinds of results that quickly? I didn't. Personally, I really didn't. Yeah. I mean, I don't care how big of a fanboy I am of my own product line, which isn't my own product line. I'm just an investor. But I don't care how big of a fanboy I am. I'm impressed. Like, seriously. So here we are, 2000, 1200, and even the 600 grit. Like, okay, now if Costco delivered these to me, I'd be like, yeah, that's good. I'm good to go. So with that said, is I know it's not perfect, because over here I can still see some marks. Part of it is because it was hard for me to get over to this edge. So I'm going to position this so I can really finish this. I'm going to spend a little more, I'm going to do basically one more set of passes on this, and then I'm going to introduce you to the D1 just for giggles. You can do, just what I want to do now is I'm going to go back in, I'm going to do another pass, which it depends on how you term a pass. Like, once across is a pass, or one session of passes might be a pass. I don't know how you want to label it, but I'm going to do another section of passes in order to eliminate and make this as optically clear and perfect as possible. I'm literally using the tip of a wooden paintbrush to just kind of fluff up those fibers. So here's my Ceram-X. I'm going to put on a couple more dollops. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I lost count. Let me just show you guys how much is on there. Not very much. I got this on the right side. It's already dripping out off me. Anyhow, I'm going to spend a little more time on the 600 side, which makes sense. You know why? Because they're more aggressive sanding marks. Hence, I need to spend more time on them. But you've already seen the results so far, but now I want to produce true optical clarity across the whole spectrum of this disc. It's still set at 1200 RPMs. I'm going to spend a little more time on the 600. Now, if you're a beginner, the general rule is that at the beginning, you're doing the heavy lifting. So I'm applying more pressure, but I'm also introducing what's called holograms and swirl marks. So as I start to realize that my scratches are being polished away, I'm going to lighten up the pressure, and then it can go even as light as literally just the machine itself, where I can just polish with one hand. I don't necessarily recommend polishing with one hand, but I'm just, for all you beginners out there, yeah, that is, and that's barely warm, by the way. which once again, and every type of material is going to respond differently. So let's see what, now because I am producing friction here, it is creating some static electricity, and here in California currently we have a humidity of 8%. Okay, if you track the weather, okay, 8% is like desert-like conditions. Literally the humidity is so low, and the problem is when the humidity is that low, you get static electricity that builds up very, very easily. So as kids, what we'd go around doing is sweep our feet across the carpet, build up that static electricity, go up to your buddy and shock him with your finger. So that's what's going on. In fact, I could use a cloth and wet it. This is just straight water, and that takes away the static charge. Put that there. Okay, put that on my shoulder. So, spin this around so you guys can read it. Here we have 2000 grit, and I'm going to catch this so it's not glaring. Is that even a word, glaring? The glaring obvious, I guess it is a word. Okay, then we have 1200 grit. Now, talk about optical clarity, even the 600 grit. Okay, now if I scrutinize it, I can still see what's called cornrows in the 600 grit. Now, 600 grit is an absurd demonstration. Not even a body shop is going to use 600 grit when it comes to sanding clear coat. They will use 600 grit in the preparation process when they're primering it and sanding it and doing body work and body fill or that kind of stuff. Yes, they will. But as far as finish on the clear coat, 600 grit is an absurd demonstration. But I like to use the absurd to illustrate points. So even there, I still have a certain level of optical clarity. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But over here, seriously, I'm amazed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in one more time on the 600 grit. By all means, stay tuned and see if I can, not see if, but I want to remove those cornrows. That's what they call it in the industry. So even though it's still shiny, you can see through it. You can still pick up these literally like stripes that are like cornrows if you're looking at it at a distance. Now who knows if I truly remove them or not. I'm going to take this off with the wet microfiber to reduce that static charge. Finish it with my dry microfiber. And let's see what, so we've got 600 here to the left. Still got plenty of lint going on. Okay, I'm not seeing any cornrows. Okay, sorry for the big ass smile, but yeah, this is what's really cool. It's like, how come no other manufacturers have ever done, at least I've never seen this demonstration before, and I want to know why not. They like to throw out that term optical clarity around, but it's like, okay, let's put this in what I would call a working kind of demonstration to explain this hyped up terminology, which by the way, some of it is valid. It's not all irrelevant or misleading or misrepresentation. It's just that how come they're not explaining this to us? So here I am, hopefully explaining it to you guys. So I'm impressed with the results. And if, by the way, you see this before SEMA, you're going to want to come and see this because this is really cool. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change pads. And once again, we use what's called a direct fitment. We've got a dedicated backing plate with a ring system on the back, so you're not fumbling with your pads trying to get perfect alignment. That quick. So here is our foam cutting pad. Here we have our foam finishing pad. So what I'm going to do and really, actually, I'm just going to stick with the Ceram-X because it truly is. If you are not removing your swirl marks with this single product polish, something is wrong, meaning you're doing something incorrectly. There's a lot of moving parts. There's only so much we can control as a company. So this literally is a single product polish. So I'm going to put about 10. I'm going to show you exactly how much I'm using. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to clarify this even more. And I'm going to reduce this to 1,000 RPMs. Now as a rule, you always, you apply pressure at the beginning and then you back off and you basically let the polish do what the polish was intended to do, which is the work. Yeah, you can force things and it's appropriate. That's where only you can decide based on your experience and skill set. But at the end, you back off the pressure and then you allow the polish to do what it's intended to do. Okay, so there I finished with the foam cutting pad. Man, the static electricity is crazy. And by the way, I talk about, like on our products, they do have anti-static properties to it, but that's not really pertinent to the polishes, even though it is waterborne technology. So automatically it has certain amounts of anti-static qualities to it. But because, like I said, it's literally 8% humidity out there, that is incredibly dry. So, how's this for some optical clarity for you guys? Once again, I'm impressed. I know you're not going to be able to tell a difference, but just for giggles, I'm going to bust out the D1. Make sure this is on the proper side. Change pads. This is our foam finishing pad. Truly for finishing. If you're a beginner, you could literally just start out with this and either Ceram-X or the D1. They're both polishes. The polishes or the abrasives in this D1 are 10 times smaller than the abrasives in this. So this will perform like a compound, but it is not a compound. It does not do the damage that traditional compounds will do. And some of you may be calling BS on that because you're like, oh, compounds don't do damage. It's like, well, that's a video for a whole nother time. So there's me seasoning my pad with the D1. Now, as a rule, when you're jeweling, the industry likes to call this jeweling, which, sounds glorified and unique and special and whatever. So I'm going to dial this down to 800 RPMs, which, by the way, is incredibly slow if you're unfamiliar with this world of polishing. Wow, I'm like seriously amazed at these results. And this video is going to be seriously long. Hopefully it's engaging enough to guys that want to know. And Haley, you can keep this in because this is just me being candid. So this part you can keep in, Haley. Haley's my editor. In case you guys don't know, she also happens to be my daughter. Haley, I love you dearly. I'm so glad you're part of my life. I'm so glad that I have the privilege of being your father. And yes, you can keep that in the video, Haley. Don't get all wiggy and weird about it, okay? All right, so I hate to keep smiling, guys, and kind of chuckling, but I'm just, like, I really didn't expect these kind of results. I seriously expected just kind of like, okay, it's compelling results, but I really did not anticipate this level of results. So once again, let me try to capture this without the glare. And like I said, if I showed them to Costco and they delivered my eyeglasses, I'd be like, hell yeah, they're perfect. There literally is nothing. So talk about optical clarity. And so all you other manufacturers that love to throw that word around, well, guess who came out on record for the first time? And by the way, if you're a viewer and you know of some other video where they've done this, I would love to know about it, because in my experience, no one's ever done this. So for all you big manufacturers out there, when I was a beginner 25 years ago and was so frustrated, and before the internet, and I got sales rep after sales rep trying to sell me their best polish in the world, their best compound in the world, and they talked about optical clarity, and I had no idea what I was even doing. I was faking it till I make it. It's like, how come, why the hell were you guys not teaching us this stuff? Seriously, I want to know, you big manufacturers, why were you not teaching us this? Why is it that Tom, who came up with this brainstorm of an idea that I'm bringing to you on video, why is it that Tom had to introduce this to you? How about that for a question? Like, honestly, like, step up to the plate and answer that question, because I'm tired of your hype and your BS. Okay, that was my little rant. Now it's time for Darren to go into Zen mode. So I will, what's that one? Woosha, woosha. Do you know what that's from, Sean?
No.
Bad Boys. Will Smith and...
Mark Lawrence? No, Lawrence.
Yes, the funny ass dude. Lawrence, I think his name. Anyhow, woosha, woosha. So Darren's going to zen out. I hope you guys have learned something. How's that for some schmang on my finger? So I hope you guys have learned something. And if I'm able to get this to editing process quickly enough before the SEMA show, by all means come out and see, so you can see, like, we will hand this to you. You can hold it, feel it, and if we can, we'll even let you get behind the buffer and try it out yourself. So with that said, in like 200,000 words or less, we will see you on the next video.